I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Before we jump into life advice, I'm so thrilled we have two new terms from Brad. Kyle, when you take your clothes off now, will you tell dudes around you that you're about to gear down?
Yeah, I was actually that was awesome. I thought he was talking about something else for a second there. That's great. I love Canadians.
He's like, yeah, Colsey, he's gearing down over there. And I'm like, what? And then I thought
he was like passing out or something.
I immediately started thinking R. Kelly, the remix to Ignition. So I was like, oh, is there some sort of dance move to that or whatever? My mind worked a tad more specifically than maybe yours did, but just gearing down. And then Dishmaster was terrific. I mean, I'm sure that's not exactly new to most people in hockey, but just the way he said it, he was like, yeah, 29 goals. He's a real Dishmaster. And then the fact that he's driving a truck around now for construction and people are bugging him for autographs. That was hockey players. Hockey players really are some of the greatest people to hang out with. As far as that'd be a great draft. Maybe we should do it that way. Just social groups of people that you would want to hang out with. All right, let's workshop that a little bit later. So yeah, gear down. I kind of probably phrased that the wrong way. You probably wouldn't be in a room full of guys being like, "Hey, I'm going to gear down," but who knows? After pickup hoops, you might
Brad
say,
would
"Hey,
say it. There's nothing wrong with that."
Brad be like, "Hey guys, hey boys, I'm gearing down here before we start working out." All right. Speaking of, we got an email here, not about pull-ups. Don't worry about it. Learning MMA later in life. Here we go. 6'1", 210, 28 years old. Went on a little bulk during Corona, probably around 20% body fat. Missed the summer cut, but I also feel lethargic. Also, don't really want to not be able to see my lower abs. Okay. Plus, I live in Florida. Winter isn't a thing. But getting to my question, I'm the third child of four, two older brothers and a younger sister. My family's littered with badasses, martial artists everywhere. Grandfather Marine, uncle in the Army. Dad was a Navy sailor and black belt who was active in training my older brothers, who subsequently went on to do the same. There's about a 10-year gap between my older brothers and me, so we didn't have the same experience. My father was in his 40s when I was born. And I, as a kid with a short attention span, needless to say, my dad was also a little older and didn't, for whatever reason, force me into training in karate, I guess, here. All right. And if I'm being honest, I would lack discipline in my childhood, so I never took to studying any martial arts. Fast forward to now, I've become a pretty avid UFC fan, and I have this growing interest in the philosophy behind the martial arts. Long story. Am I too old to start training? Obviously, I'm not trying to become a pro here, but I don't think my ego will allow me to walk to a class and start throwing front leg kicks with a bunch of 10-year-olds. In addition, there is that line from Nas playing in my head where he made fun of Jay-Z for being 30 in karate class, the Taibo Ho line. Kyle knows what's up. Bottom line, this applies to a bunch of different things in my life where I can't seem to check my ego enough to try new things for fear of being bad or making a fool of myself. Any advice on trying new things in spite of this fear would be helpful. Thanks. Okay, what I'm reading here is a guy that he wants to do this, but he cares what people think. We've said this a lot on the pod. It'd be awesome, the number of people that think they don't care what people think, and the number of people that actually don't care what people think, that's a wide gap. And most of us care in certain elements here. But my guess is if you were on your own in a town where like nobody knew you or thought you were 30, and depending on what discipline that you want to study, the only hang up is all this bullshit that doesn't mean anything. All right. Yes, you don't want to be in a class with a bunch of little kids. It's the worst. You don't want to be doing that. But what you need to find is, and it's the same thing. Like, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, you'd kind of like to learn how to be a badass. You might not just be, you may not be wired like Brad Wingfield. So I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe you are. I don't know. But the whole line of like, hey, I don't want to actually like be in the octagon in 3 years. Don't worry. You're probably not going to be good enough. So don't worry about that. But there's definitely a place where you can find whatever it is that you need. Whether it's, getting your ass kicked for a little while. All right. Well, that should motivate you. But like showing up and not being good at it, that's where everybody else started. And yes, they did it when they were younger than you, and now you're a little bit older. But it sounds like you really want to do this, and your only hangup is all the stuff that doesn't matter. What does it matter? Do you think they think you're going to be good the first time you roll around and grapple with them? Nope. Do you think if you're going to be start checking their kicks, or your form is going to be awesome on stuff? Nope. Like it's going to be hard to keep your arms up for a couple minutes the first time you ever do it. A couple minutes, hell, 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to suck at all of this, but they expect you to suck at it. What they'll respect is, depending on, again, who you're working with here, is if you keep showing up to get your ass kicked and coming back and putting in the effort and then improving. So we all, look, all of us, I'm not as good at surfing right now as I thought I was going to be. I'm just not. I have great opportunity to get better at it. And it's a little bit like golf, where every time, like when you suck at golf, you don't want to golf as much. And I can't believe, like, I'd go down to Maui and I was up all day, and then I come back to Manhattan Beach. I'm like, sometimes I'm just not hitting that perfect moment of making my decision of when to get up and turn the board into the wave. I should be better, but I also should be better because I should be going more. But there's times if it's really crowded and there's like a nice clean break, but there's a bunch of guys lined up. And again, it's Manhattan Beach over here, so it's not like we're in Santa Cruz. But I'll be like, I don't want to go out there because I suck. And it's the wrong. So I'm giving you advice that I don't listen to, but the reason I'm giving it to you is because I know exactly what you're going through. So there you go. Kyle?
Yeah, no, you're right. I was going to ask you about, like, so do you surf around dudes?
Yes.
Like you'll surf around dudes?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
if there's like 7 dudes, you're like, I don't know.
I will. Yeah, I've gotten over like, okay, hey, I'm going to suck. Like they can tell immediately the way you're paddling in and out of stuff. They know whether or not. Look, am I terrible? No. I mean, I can get up most of the day. It just doesn't go as well as I thought I would. Like I got to stop watching videos of dudes tearing it up because apparently that isn't going to happen. I don't know. That was kind of the plan, but that's all right. I still enjoy when it's a good day. You're like, all right, that's cool. But I should be going way more often, but I can tell exactly what happens is I get up, I prep, I tape, and then I want to lift. And then I get back, and if the wind is the wrong way, and then it's all choppy in the afternoon, and you're like, oh, I should be out there at 6, 7 a.m., 3 mornings a week, getting better, cleaner waves. But if it's really, really crowded, in the beginning, I'd go, oh, I don't want to go out there because I suck. And now I'll just find a different part of the break, which maybe isn't as nice, but I'm just not going enough. And the reason I wasn't going for it wasn't because I didn't want to get in the water. It was sort of a hang up of like, hey, I'm terrible. And, honestly, who gives a shit? Lance from Redondo doesn't think I'm any good. Like,
bummer.
Who's Lance? I don't even know if Lance is real. So I'm all, the reason I think the life advice thing works is not because I think I'm so smart and I'm so disciplined and I do all this stuff. It's probably because I fucked up most stuff. So that's always kind of the point of this. And so hopefully that helps a little. Sarita, you got anything to add there? You got anything that you'd like to do? So I could see you wanting to get like a mandolin going, but you think it's too late for you.
No, not a mandolin, but I've definitely fallen victim of what are people thinking about me while I'm doing this? I'm not going to do it, which sucks because, like, for example, like I was playing some pickup soccer. I didn't grow up playing soccer. I have 0 first touch. I have no skill. I just kind of bring the energy. And sometimes I'm not even in great shape. And there'll be times when I'm like, do I want to run out there and like embarrass myself in front of guys that played in college or whatever? They're going to be judging me. And you know what they never do? They never judge you. If you play hard, it's totally fine. And then at the end of the day, when I come home, I'm super happy that I actually did it. I got a workout in. I was exercising. I was outside. I was doing something I like. I met some new dudes. So you can get in your own head way too much about this stuff. And we often think that people are constantly judging us, which sometimes they are. And honestly, if you're talking about Lance and Redondo, who cares about Lance, as you said? But if you're having a good time and you're enjoying this and your like life is being fulfilled because of it, then just do it, man. You're going to be happy afterwards.
That's why I don't golf.
Golfing's a whole different story because actually golfers can be very judgy, especially when you're on the first tee and there's a bunch of dudes watching you.
I've seen it so much on TV, like people waiting for people to golf and finish their shit, that like I just would be terrified. Or I would just totally cheat and be like, all right, I can't have these guys wait on me, so we'll just add a stroke here or something. I don't know.
Here's what you got to do though with golf. You got to go with guys that aren't great. Like, because if you're golfing as a new golfer with a scratch golfer, it's going to be awkward the entire time because he's going to be hitting great shots. You're going to be lagging behind. You're going to feel self-conscious about it. You kind of have to go with other guys that suck.
Yeah, I'm petrified, and I don't know any guys that suck, so I think I'll just be in this state forever.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, like the golf thing, you could also just golf with people that aren't assholes. You could golf with your friends. And yes, if there's somebody who's never golfed before and there's 3 guys out there that have been swinging it for 20 plus years, you're not their first choice. But if they're your friends, then they understand it. Like I remember the second time I ever went, and I went with the guy that owned the bar that I was managing, and I was like 21 maybe. I think it was like summer after everybody graduated. It was gone, so I was still up there. And I went to like a local course. It wasn't that great of a course. And there was a bunch of like guys that were like local Vermonter types, late 20s, early 30s, which, at the time they feel like they're 80 when you're just out of college. And, I hit an iron shot and I completely like topped it, missed it. It was like straight up embarrassing. And they all sat there and laughed at me. And I looked at him and I'm like, you haven't seen your dick in a fucking month. Like, hey, you guys can all like take it easy. I was pissed. And then the guy that owned the place, who's kind of a badass, was like, hey, it's the second time golfing ever, you guys. Like, are you guys serious with this shit right now? And the thing is like, hey, just keep going. I mean, that's kind of one of the bigger lessons in life. And like, it sucks that any of this stuff happens. You know what I mean? Like, just think how much happier you would be like, hey, I'm going to try this thing out and be terrible at it for a little while,
Totally.
not be judged, not have anxiety about it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it. I mean, hell, it's a lot like this business. Most of the times when you're on the air in the beginning, you're not ready for it. I certainly wasn't in the beginning, but I wasn't going to go, oh, I don't want to be doing a baseball game because I'm going to be terrible. I knew I was going to be terrible doing play-by-play baseball, but I was like, I don't give a shit because this is the path. This is the start of what I'm going to do. And if I'm actually going to be on the air, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So, I mean, that's a little different because it's your career and you're feeling more desperate, but it happens all the time with all this different stuff. And most of us end up not doing these things because of a bunch of bullshit reasons that ultimately, when you add them up, mean nothing. They mean nothing at the end of the ledger in your life. Nothing. And people are preventing themselves from learning an instrument. People don't do all sorts of different things. Now, granted, look, if you called me tomorrow and said, hey, I never played basketball, can I run pickup with you? And I've never touched a ball and I'm 38, I'm going to say no. But there's certain things, like you said, Cerruti, your first touch, never growing up playing soccer, it's probably something you never really will be able to develop. But there's plenty of other stuff that people could do. And I'd have to ask Cerruti, do you wear a headband? There must be some sort of hair accessory that motivates you to want to go out there and run around.
Well, my hair's short now, but I did wear a headband back when it was long, and
obviously.
especially with the bun. And I showed up. And here's the thing too: is back when I had the bun and I would show up to pick up, guys would think I was nasty because he has like that kind of that Euro look to him, so they would pick me kind of high in the drafts because they didn't know who I was. And it was even more pressure on me because I'm like, damn, these guys think I'm good now, and I'm gonna go out there and kind of suck. I'm a max effort guy. Like I'll run around, I'll do what it takes, I'll track guys down. But there's going to be no skill moves for me whatsoever. So guys kind of got disappointed. I actually had that kind of phobia of the gym too, because I'm not a big guy and I don't really know what I'm doing in the gym either. Now I could do kind of home workouts, so it's better. But I would avoid the gym because I was just like, people are judging me and I'm like super scrawny and I don't want people to judge me and think that who the hell is this guy? He doesn't know what he's doing and start laughing at me. Yeah,
look, I avoided the gym too. Right out of college, I wasn't, as my frame started to fill out, I wasn't strong at all. I went on for years, but I just kept going in. I think you probably should not have shown up in the gear you showed up to at these pickup soccer games, though. Like, you probably should have just worn an extra large Rude Dog shirt from Zare or Ames. I'm sure Bradley's. I'm just trying to think of Ames. Nice. Shout out to Ames. Ames is the reference that you guys are probably going to get. So that might have been on you. But I mean, I don't know if there's some final thought on all of this because this isn't exactly groundbreaking stuff. But I would tell you, look, just talking about it, there's still stuff I'd like to do, but you go, oh, whatever. I mean, I really wish I'd learned an instrument 15 years ago. And I just was like, no, I have to watch basketball. All those times I could have been watching games I couldn't stand watching anymore. I could just strum it out chord changes, Kyle.
Keyboard player?
I actually would have pegged you as a sax guy.
Oh, really? That doesn't. Where's that coming from?
I don't know. You brought up jazz enough times where it's like, that's kind of surprising for me. So I figured you probably appreciate the saxophones of those songs and you probably like to fucking riff on one of those.
You know what would be sick? If
nothing as cool as a guitar, but.
Well, I was going to say, it would be sick because KOC is like nasty at guitar, right?
Yeah,
not
yeah.
nasty, but he's really good at it. Like you can like form some sort of like NBA rock band duo where you play the keyboard and he plays the guitar and you guys go on tour. It's like your second gig. People would love that.
That's easily the worst idea you've ever come up with in the
No, I
entire
love it.
time we've known
I'm
each
for
other.
it. I guarantee you, the Ringer audience, if they did a live stream once a week of you and KOC playing instruments, that would probably do crazy numbers.
There would probably be Ringer tech guys that unplug my shit.
Maybe.
All right, let's do one more. Feel like we've done this one before, but we're probably going to do it again. Friends with the ex. Oh, he went to Vermont. All right, so that's why we're going to do it. The essentials of the situation are this. My ex and I split up nearly 2 years ago, but remained friends. She's seeing this other guy, but recently hit me up during a wine Wednesday. Oh, so that means she was having a couple sobs and some text about missing me, wanting to see me as soon as possible, and needing a hug. Oh, she said, I'm needing a hug from you. All right. I'm essentially done with grad school, just turned 25, and feel myself wanting something more serious, so I can't help but read these texts and start thinking maybe I have a second chance here. I'm not even sure if she's still seeing this guy. She and I haven't caught up in about 7 weeks, and I can imagine she wouldn't just randomly text me, hey, I'm single now. It would probably be something cryptic like this. Okay. All right. So cryptic meaning, hey, needing a hug from you. I mean, dude, if she's hitting you up and say, like, needing a hug from you, that's significant. I mean, if it was at 4 a.m. on a Saturday, maybe you'd think a little differently. And then if she never got in touch with you again, but if she's the follow-up. So wait a minute, needing a hug from you and then you haven't talked for 7 weeks? I don't know. Maybe her for Saturday, 4 a.m. is a 6 p.m. Wednesday. Who knows? We've agreed to grab coffee soon. How do I play this? I feel like I need a solid 15 minutes of small talk before I can come right out and say, why did you dump this guy yet? Because I'm all in. Bold
Jesus
move.
Christ.
Bold move. I would not suggest that. I'm not saying it couldn't work, but I would not suggest that. I don't want her thinking we've only stayed friends because I've had this motive. And honestly, if she doesn't want to get back together, I'd be okay. But instead, if she does, it's game changing. There you go. All right. So girlfriend broke up 2 years ago. He finishes grad school. He's 25. He wants to get back together. Clearly, he wants to almost be like, hey, did you jump this guy because I'm all in? Him saying, I don't want to do that, and then tell her we've only stayed friends because I've had this motive. Honestly, who cares? Like if you've stayed friends because you're still interested and you care about this person, that's as flattering as just wanting to be friends. Here's what I would ask you. Maybe this is the one, right? Maybe this is the one, and that's why you still have these feelings, and then they've been rekindled a bit here. And it's also, she's part of this too. Like if she feels this way about you, saying, hey, I miss you, need a hug and all that kind of stuff. If that's real, then it's on and you're going to be good here. If it's not real, then it's totally bullshit. And she's just fucking with you because you're just, whatever's going on with the guy in the building who they met during the pandemic, which again, every one of you guys that write in about these relationships that you don't want to keep happening, you'll emphasize, like, dude, it happened during quarantine. Like every quarantine relationship is bullshit. Although I would agree that, yes, there's probably a higher percentage of bullshit relationships because of quarantine and just simplicity and being like, hey, we're in the same building. I guess we can watch Ground Girl again. All right. So I would, on this one, here's all the stuff that I would ask yourself. Did you just graduate grad school, and because you've been so busy and you haven't had much of a social life and we're coming out of a pandemic, do you feel this way about her because she is the one, or is it because it's the one that's still talking to you? And that's an important thing to figure out. I remember, there was a girl from college. It was pretty toxic the entire time. And then, I stay in Burlington. I had fun, but I'm a loser. I dated somebody pretty seriously. I ended up in New Jersey. That was a disaster. I end up on the vineyard, working construction, and I'm commuting back and forth. And I finally get to Boston. I'm starting to get some normal, regular radio fill-in shifts for this affiliate that nobody listened to. And the girl from college pops back up into the scene. I hang out a couple times. And one of my friends, a close friend at the time, was like, hey, what are you doing? You don't even like her. I don't even think she likes you. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And we're like, look, you moved to Boston. You don't have any money. Your confidence is probably shot. You've been through a bunch of shitty jobs. And, you're probably just going with something that's convenient here. That's probably going to make you feel worse again, though. Like whatever you think you're doing, this is all like temporary, and it's probably just going to be even worse. And I was like, man, he's right. He's right. And I kind of knew it already, but he was right. And I just sort of called it off. And she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, what are we doing? Like, we met when we were 18. Like, what are we doing? You, however, seem to look at this differently. And this is somebody you want to spend, I think, a lot of time with, but just make sure that that's the reason. Make sure it's because of her and not your situation. All right. But if she sincerely is texting you, hey, miss you, need a hug, and all of that stuff, all right, if that's all real stuff, then you're probably good. You know what I mean? You're probably pretty good here. But I'm slightly worried for you that she had some wines and whatever attention she's not getting from the guy that she's dating, if she's still dating him, that you were there to fill some sort of temporary void. Because if she's saying need a hug and you didn't hear from her for 7 weeks, that's not great. Kyle?
I'm actually happy for this dude because what I'm getting, he's 25. He's done with school. I'm going to assume he's handsome for purposes of what I'm feeling for him. I'm going to assume he's a handsome guy. And I'm just thinking back to when I was like done with school and there was like, I was like kind of bouncing around. There was like a girl I'd meet here, a girl I meet there.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
and then also like a girl that like I was kind of, really, really liked. And I did. I told her I loved her probably way too early and all that stuff. And, she's
How
off
early?
doing whatever she's doing now. I don't know. It was probably like 6-7 months or something in.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's not the worst. I thought he was going to say 3 weeks already.
Oh,
Yeah, 6-7 weeks.
Child of divorce, it makes you think you're messing everything up. But I guess what I'm saying is like to have even like to be having like regular girls that you're like meeting out and about doing your thing, and then also to have another girl from your past that you're pretty sure you love, that's like you're not sure where you guys stand, but you're kind of not all in, but you guys can hang out and it's like nothing, you haven't missed a beat, but nobody's like there's no like real stakes there. That's the best. And because then you can kind of coast and see what happens with her, and you're also kind of hanging out with other girls here and there if you're going out to a bar or whatever, that you wouldn't be driving yourself crazy until you can figure out what she's doing. So I'm actually happy for this guy. I would just say like just fucking pump the brakes, be available when you're available, but that's it. Like don't hang, because you're going to be disappointed if you're just waiting on every word that she's saying and you got to figure out what's going on with this guy. Just be cool and she'll notice that you're being cool, and just like be a guy who's done with school and 25 and handsome and has this girl on a line, and also explore your options. Like you can balance all those things. It's not going to be crazy. Good for you. I'm actually happy for you.
That was really good, Kyle. Seriously, just go into it. Maybe don't even ask her any questions about herself. You're like, I graduated. This is what I'm thinking about. Here's the next plan. Here's the next year. Here's the next 5 years. Here's the next 25 years, international contacts, etc. And then you could be like at the very end, be like, oh, you're dating that guy, right? Oh, you are? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Off to Switzerland. Ice cold.
Totally. Just be cool, man. It'll work out for you that way.
Kyle, I think everything you said is right. The only thing is he has to stick to that plan. Like he can't just be all in, all eggs in the basket on this girl, which is what happens a lot in these situations. I kind of feel like some dudes fall into that trap where they go, I don't know if I'm going to meet anybody else. I really loved her. She's showing me some attention, so I'm going to shut everything down and, go that route 100%. I think, as you said, be available, talk to this girl, be intriguing. Don't post a ton of stuff about you going out if you are on social media, and keep in touch with her. And if it happens, great. And if not, you meet somebody else. It's totally fine.
Yeah, you can abandon that plan you can abandon the cool, happy-go-lucky, whatever happens plan anytime, but stick to that plan to start. That's what I mean. Yeah. That way you won't be disappointed.
And if it doesn't work out, don't go on a spiral. Don't be bummed out. Just move on with your life.
Yeah, no problem on that last part, Cerruti. If the girl of your dreams doesn't like you and was fucking with you after a couple wines about missing you and is still dating that guy, just don't let that impact your mood whatsoever.
Listen, I'm not saying it's easy. I've been a guy who's fallen into this trap before and been like, let me try to get back with my ex. And it usually ends in disappointment. You just have to know that going in. So if you are clear with yourself, you're not going to get heartbroken.
Yeah. No, I'm like, okay. But I mean, what you just said is like,
well, this is
really hard
the advice.
do.
What do you want? I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to do. Like, hey, you want to lose 100 pounds? All right, go to the gym every day and eat less calories. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but that's what you have to do.
You're right. I just thought you were so matter of fact about something that is, if guys could have figured that one out and actually stuck to it and emotionally detached themselves from things, then guys would have had a much better time. What's the most bummed out you've ever been in a relationship, Cerruti? Obviously, I'm assuming not your
I
marriage.
dated this girl. Well, it's funny. I dated this girl in high school for a while. Led into college a little bit. We broke up, and we kept in touch for years, and it just sucked because it lingered, and you never knew what was going on. And I felt like I put some parts of my like love life on hold for that, and it's a terrible decision. That's what I'm trying to tell this guy, to avoid that trap. Go out and meet other people in your mid-20s. You're a mid-20-year-old, as Kyle said, good-looking dude. Do you? And if this works out, great. If not, there's plenty of other fish in the sea, Ryan.
There you go. That's a dad piece of advice, but it's good stuff. I always kind of joke about it now, even though I was devastated when I had the failed proposal. And I'm home. My father would come over. I was like, great. And I love my dad. I was like, how's it going? I'm like, it's not going great, man. It's not going good. What? And we was joking, and I was like, well, she's pretty short. He's like, I told your mom that your kids were going to be so short. He's like, you dodged a huge bullet. I was like, all right, you can back off a little on this. Like, you don't have to be celebrating it. He's like, I'm telling you, huge bullet. I was like, all right, cool. Thanks. Feel better.
Well, your dad's like 6'6", right?
Yeah, 6'5".
Yeah, so, being tall is important to him. I get that.
Being tall is very important to him. Thanks for checking out today's podcast. We're going to have Kevin Clark on, preview the NFL season on Friday. We are also going to do a little on F1 and a bunch of other things. So we've got it all mapped out. We'll update the QB stock stuff quarterly. So a month in, we'll have new prices, see who won or lost, how their portfolio is doing. So please subscribe, spread the word, rate and review. Ryen Russillo Podcast, Ringer, Spotify. Thanks to Kyle and Steve.